Hello everyone, welcome to my shop. In this video I'm going to be installing a Raceseng tug loop on my 2011 Nissan GT-R. This is a pretty simple install, but if you want a really nice clean install, you do have to drill a hole in the factory tow hook cover. It's not too bad. You could do it without, but as I said, for a nice clean install you do need to do the drilling. I will show you the process so that you don't have too much trouble with it. I'm going to move some things around and we'll go ahead and get things started. So what we're installing is this Raceseng tow hook. Packaging on this is really impressive. It opens up, really nice foam cutout. It includes an installation guide, a sticker, some more information. It includes the specific tug mount for your vehicle, as well as, in my case, I have one of the toe rings and a nut. If you were to have a strap, this would be replaced with a strap. To do this install, you'll need a drill, a center punch, some kind of prying tool, preferably non-marring. You will need some masking tape, some grease. You'll need a couple different size bits, going fairly large for a step drill. And then you will need a 20mm and a 25mm wrench or socket. You will need a 25mm wrench. You could also use an open-ended crescent wrench if you do not have those sizes. The first part of this install is removing the factory tow hook cover. It's best if you've got a non-marring tool. You need to insert it into the bottom and pry up, and it will pop the bottom piece out. Inside there is a small little plastic piece. I'm gonna go ahead and that is a retainer. You do want to go ahead and remove that. As I said, it's got a little Christmas tree prong on it, goes into this slot here. We are eventually going to put this back in and drill a hole through this so that you've got this nice clean hole, so that you don't have this big opening here that's allowing debris and stuff into your bumper. But I'm going to set it aside for right now. The next step is to install the vehicle-specific tug shaft that I received from Raceseng. At this point, you don't need to do anything special. You just need to install it. On the GT-R, this is a standard right-hand thread. On some vehicles, this is a left-hand thread, so just be aware as you install it. You don't need to install it all the way in. At this point, this is far enough. It just needs to be in place. The next step, I'm going to go grab some masking tape, and we're going to mark on here where we need to drill the cover so that you only have the smallest hole possible. With some masking tape or painter's tape, something that is not too sticky, what we're going to do is install tape above, below, left, and right so that it just touches the tug shaft. On the sides and bottom, don't press it down too hard, because you are going to have to peel this up here in just a minute. Just for good measure, I'm going to put one more piece of tape over the top here to help hold these pieces. At this point, you can unthread the tug shaft. At this point, I'm going to actually peel this tape up carefully. I'm going to reinstall this cover, snap it into place. Now I'm going to reapply the tape, and this is going to tell me where the center of my tug shaft hole needs to be. The next step is going to be to center punch, so I've got a place to start drilling. You could do this with an auto punch. This is a spring punch, so I'm going to try and get as close as I can to the center of the four sides and give myself a little starting point. Next step is going to be to start drilling this hole out. You could do this either on the vehicle or not on the vehicle. Because this is plastic, I'm not too worried about doing it in the vehicle. The one thing you do need to watch is that as you step this bit, this up to larger and larger sizes that it doesn't start twisting and damage the bumper. That may be a good reason to do it not in the bumper, but it is a lot harder to hold that way. So at least for the small sizes, I'm going to start drilling right here. I'm going to start with a pretty small hole. That way I don't have to worry about the bit walking. And now I'm going to start stepping it up from here. As you're doing this, you do want to keep your drill speed low, or you do risk melting the plastic. At this point, I'm going to go ahead and remove the tape and get it out of my way as I continue to drill. At this point, I have the hole drilled out to 15/16 of an inch. I am about to be able to get the shaft through, so I'm going to go ahead and pull this out one more time. Clear out all the debris that's back in here from drilling this out. At this point, I do need to try and clean this up on the inside. I do have a little bit of a ridge. I'm going to probably go in here and maybe sand this out and try to avoid damaging it any more than I have to, and then we'll come back. So I've finished modifying my hole. I did take a Dremel and kind of clean up the back side of this to make sure that it was nice and clean. The next step is I'm going to actually install the tug shaft. Before you do this, even though this is coated, put a little bit of either anti-seize or grease or something on the threads just to protect it, so that next time you ever want to take this out, you still can. You don't need a ton on there, so that's plenty. So at this point, I'm going to go ahead and start threading it in. This time I am going to thread it all the way in, as far as you can. At this point, if you purchase their tool, you can use their tool to tighten this in, or a 20mm wrench. Be very careful of your paint and your bumper. You may actually want to put some masking tape around here while you do this, just to protect it. You don't need a ton of torque, so that was, maybe a couple foot-pounds, just enough to kind of make sure that it doesn't come loose. Next step, I'm going to reinstall the cover. One thing to note, I did end up having to enlarge this hole because Raceseng has this in so tight. I actually needed to make sure that it actually cleared the nut, not just the tug shaft. So this is up to about 1 1/16 of an inch. So I'm going to go ahead and reinsert the Christmas tree, install the top tab, snap that into place. Next step is to install the tug ring itself, or toe strap if that's what you chose. Make sure this nut is threaded all the way down. If you haven't already, install a little bit of anti-seize or grease on these threads. And at this point, you're going to thread this all the way in. Check your fitment. I now have the hook all the way threaded in. Fortunately for me, everything lined up. I do have the hook where I want it. If you did not, you would rotate it back until it was in the orientation you wanted, and then you would tighten the jam nut on the back. This is a 25mm hex. You will need an open-ended wrench or the tool that Raceseng sells. At this point, this hook is installed. As you can see, it is extremely clean and very, very tight to the body. There is play in here, so when it does need to get pulled up to be towed, it can be pulled on, but it's stiff enough that even at high speeds it shouldn't come back and contact the body. That's it. Pretty simple. As I said, you got to get over the fear of actually drilling a hole into the plastic plug on the bumper. You could, if you wanted to, buy a replacement one and drill that so that you keep the paint matched one in case you ever do want to remove the hook and sell the vehicle later. I'm not too worried about that. But at this point, the vehicle's a little bit more ready for the track. This Raceseng tow hook should work really well for me. Worst case scenario, if I ever need to have this thing pulled up onto a flatbed. Thanks for tuning in. Please like and subscribe. If you have any questions, leave them in the comments. We'll get this thing back out to the track next season, and we'll see how it goes. Thanks for tuning in.